This is Michaela McLean, and you're listening to Beauty by Design. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for being here again. It's time to talk about our next gate, Gate 60. And before we get into it, a reminder, free charts, all the charts your heart desires on my website, michaelamclean.com. Same thing, you can get the free guide to human design basics. You can get $11 Aura type masterclasses that are 1 hour long. You can get yoga nidras for your type and authority, all the good things. And then, of course, I am working on a really huge project right now, kind of two really big things at the same time, and trying to figure out what are my offerings going to look like in the meantime. I test drove something really fun over the weekend. I had a really good response. Just tinkering with simple and accessible ways to work with me that will work around what I'm doing on the back end. So I'm hoping to have something formed here maybe in the next week or so that I will let you know about. But yeah, I don't know, it's like very fun. I just kind of got to talk to some people like I do with like my friends or family about this, where it doesn't have to be these huge long sessions, but very very direct and to the point and prescriptive, my energetic RX. And it was so much fun for me. So I think we might start doing something new here in the very near future. But anyway, stay tuned. And funnily enough, I think that's really relevant actually to this gate, like it always is going into it. And you'll understand why. It's kind of the are we going forward? Are we stopped? Is it time? Is it not? It's very Gate 60 material. So let's get into it. Of course, all the links for everything that's important you can find in the show notes or my Instagram bio at Michaela McLean. But let's just throw out the disclaimer like we do every time. Don't try to understand this at the mental level. Just let the sound current, the energy, the frequency of beauty sink deep into your cells like good skincare. Look at this, look at these sides of ourselves and really see what's obscuring or obstructing our inner beauty, the better off we're going to be. And then we won't radiate from the inside out. Okay, so the sun is moving through the last days of Capricorn and we're moving into Aquarius. So 60 is a bridge gate. It is located in the root center and it's part of the individual knowing circuitry. People with individual circuitry have that deep inner knowing that they are here to be true to themselves, which leads to mutation, evolution, and positive change in the world. And the keynote for individual circuitry is empowerment. When somebody with individual circuitry is able to empower somebody else, they in turn feel empowered. So, starting with the center itself, the root is both a motor and a pressure center. It pushes us to do and provides the necessary adrenaline to carry out the action. Energy enters into the root, and in this case, moves up to the sacral to be used in response to the right things, the correct work. So 60 is known as limitation. It's the gate of acceptance. And this is the pressure to mutate, to transcend limitation. The acceptance of a limitation is the first step in transcendence. So this energy is about the pressure to push past limitations. It's where all the possibility for evolution and change stems from. There is a recognition here of coming up against the red tape of life, 3D reality, and the response to that. The low expression of 60 is, to put it simply, feeling stuck. Then wanting to change and just steamrolling your way forward without waiting for the right moment to arrive on its own. It's a restlessness for evolution that can lead to melancholy. You could feel incredibly sad and restricted by life and want to change so bad, but aren't willing to wait for divine timing. Conversely, you could give up before you ever begin, deterred by life's inevitable roadblocks, or overly submissive to the powers that be, the status quo, the social constructs, feeling imprisoned by the way things have always been done. It can be deeply frustrating. It is the gate of the air quotes old. The old rules, regulations, limitations, the things that feel like they are holding you back. Someone with 60 could be overly structured or completely unstructured. It's self-imposed limitations. The high expression is patience and trust in your own deep inner knowing that you will be an unstoppable force when the time to act finally arrives. This is someone who's meant to be a powerful change maker. It's individual energy, after all. 60 benefits from what I like to call freedom within a framework, working with or within the system or structure to create change. It's like affecting change from the inside out. It's healthy for gate 60 to cultivate a strong sense of presence, be here in the moment, ready to respond to what comes next. It's like a little seed starting to sprout underneath the ground, waiting for the right timing and conditions to make a breakthrough. So, personally, gate 60 calls to mind the serenity prayer, that famous prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I will add the patience to wait for it to happen. And the gene keys, the shadow of this one is limitation, which can go from unstructured to very rigid. The gift is realism, and the city is justice. So in the gene keys, this one is all about balance, basically. It's the balance between light and dark, old and new, going, stopping, yes, no. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's just polarities, right? And finding this middle ground between those polarities, finding a way to be adaptable in life with it, having that healthy balance. Like I said, I love the saying, I heard this a long time ago, freedom within a framework. Essentially what 60 is telling you to do, it's like know the rules and then you're going to know how to break them, right? So Richard Rudd says that people with the 60th gift are very sought out in the world, and for one main reason, they understand the limitations of the world of form and therefore know the laws of manifesting within the world of form. And he says the only thing needed for magic to occur is some form of a structure and an open mind. Freedom within a framework, baby. All right, my notes here. This is part of a generated channel. It operates in response to the correct thing, the polarity, the duality. Yes, no, either or. And in this case, responding to the things that are transformative. Generators are designed to work, which is really just about funneling our sustainable energy into the things we love to do. The ability to stay with the change or mutation takes sustainable energy. Generators are methodical. It's one foot in front of the other, and then in generators, if you know anything about them, we hit plateaus. So it's like to stay with that change or mutation, even though it feels like you hit sort of like a point where nothing's happening. There is no improvement, there is no upgrade, but still knowing like, no, I got to hang in here. It's coming. It's coming. It's always coming. And the individual circuitry, specifically from the root, is going to pulse on and off. And it's like, ooh, I had a surge in mastery. I up leveled, and now I'm in a plateau. Oh, and here comes another one, and then I'm in a plateau. That is the stair step progress of a generator, right? So again, this is coming from generated. It's a part of a generated channel. So I think that's really an important thing to understand about this gate, this potential energy. Any type can have gate 60 by itself, of course, but if you have the full channel, you're a sacral being, whether that's a generator or a manifesting generator, which is really one and the same. but again, just knowing that it's like, oh, okay, sometimes it's going to be my time, and sometimes it's not going to be my time, and that's all right. This is part of format energy. So there are 3 channels in the body graph that connect the root to the sacral, and they are called format channels, format energy. There's one individual, and then there's one collective logic and one collective abstract. They color or flavor every other gate and channel in their circuit. They are the literal root of the energy flowing through these circuits. They're like seed energy. The collective logic or understanding circuitry is all about sit still, study, perfect things until you have, something that's going to cross your path to give you something to respond to that's going to move you forward. On the opposite end, collective abstract or sensing is jump into things through response and just live the experience, right? Reflect on it when you get to the end. You're reflecting on the past. And then the individual knowing, which we are talking about here, this is the mutation that pulses on and off and is responding to whatever's in front of it in the present moment. So, again, this one is individual, it's on, it's off, it's deep in your bones. You know it for sure. That knowing is there one moment and then it's gone the next. There is no forcing this, which is where, the melancholy can stem from. However, this also has this beautiful potential to be deeply impactful on everyone around them. For my energy period, it's very influential. And again, as I mentioned, only generators or manifesting generators can have this entire channel. And any generator or MG with the full channel, Ra-Uru-Hu, the founder of human design, he called them adrenalized generators because they've got that connection from the root all the way up to the sacral. That's two very powerful motors. Again, all individual circuitry, but especially somebody with this full channel, the 360, they have a tendency towards depression, right? So the root, go back to that. It's like, it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. And kind of finding this way to understand and use the melancholy to fuel your creativity versus getting sucked into a depressive episode. Not that I would know anything about that, being a pure individual myself. It's what's important here is like the sacral is the boss. It's kind of like trying not to get tied up into any sort of a story as to why you feel this way, because individuals on and off. Like not like, oh, I'm so depressed because, or I feel sad because. It's like, oh, it's just the switch is not on right now, and that's okay. I'm essentially like patient. Patience has been a big thing. Sorry, I'm going off tangent, but really realizing and preaching it to other people, like the patience is such a big thing. If deep individual knowing, something is correct, and you're like, but there's nothing externally showing up to kind of like, what would I say? Sort of give me something to respond to. That's okay. I would rather sit and do nothing and be all right in that and be patient and chill than just seeking things out to do to feel like you're using your energy on something. So that's really the idea here. You're waiting for a true sacral yes to take place. Because if there's no sacral yes, especially in this channel, then no mutation is going to happen. As long as these people are responding, they are going to bring change and mutation to the rest of us. They will have their intended impact. Again, they can't get stuck in that individual melancholy. So I wanted to include a quote from Ra-Uru-Hu. He said, "It can become depression. It can become a way in which they become self-destructive. There is a great deal of sadness in individual circuitry. And through that sadness, there are all kinds of opportunities to hurt oneself, both physically and spiritually. One of the keys to this process is not to try and reason, but to know and explain." They said, if you don't know, wait. If you can't explain, be quiet. Eventually, it will all come together out of the magic of response. So right there, I cannot stress enough strategy and authority. So what I was just saying about myself, where I'm like, girl, if there's nothing to respond to, there's nothing to respond to. You know how you work. You know how you're designed to operate. You wait till something really gets you, right? Till something crosses your path and you're like, yes, oh my goodness, yes. A million times yes. It makes me want to move forward, right? But that doesn't come from the mind. That is not a sacral response. More notes. Now, another little interesting note here. Capricorn and Aquarius, so this gate spans those two signs. They were both ruled by Saturn. Aquarius's modern day ruler is Uranus, but traditionally it's Saturn. And I was like, oh, Capricorn is like the rule maker, and Aquarius is definitely the rule breaker. This is the old way and the new way, and they're bound up together in 860. So I was like, wow, this is really akin to, modern day psychedelic and psilocybin research, things that are coming about now that we're like, ooh, is there actually some, you know, medicinal helpful things happening with psychedelics? Well, that is nothing new. I'm like, here was Ram Dass, Timothy Leary, who, by the way, has the full channel. Shock, right? When they were kicked out of Harvard, in the 60s. It's like just so wild to be like, how many years has this taken? This is like the plight of the individual. It's like knowing something super, super deep and knowing that that mutation, that change needs to come to the tribe, to the collective, it needs to help push things forward. Um, but people looking at you like you're a threat. And at the time, Richard Nixon called Timothy Leary the most dangerous man in America. We're talking about a psychologist from Harvard, a PhD is like the most dangerous man. It's like, why? Because change, like a different way of thinking, a different way of being, mutation, evolution, all of that stuff, right? So wild. By the way, he also had the channel of the alpha. So somebody being able to look forward and see where we were meant to go and using their voice to do so. Just fascinating to me. It's also a fun observation that this is the final gate before the human design new year in gate 41. So it really is like a little seed just waiting for the correct energy to pulse and bloom. Okay, so the programming partner, meaning if the sun is in gate 60, either Capricorn or Aquarius, the earth is automatically going to be opposite, either in Cancer or Leo, gate 56. And 56 is known as the wonder. It's the gate of stimulation. The keynote here is I believe or not, the stimulating storyteller. So this gate is the casual historian. It's the gate of the gifted storyteller, myths, fairy tales, fables, urban legends, folk tales, you name it. It's been collecting together memories from what it's seen and witnessed and then retelling it from that person's point of view. The tales are subjective and emotionally tinged, designed to mentally stimulate the listener. Can even be tall tales, right? Someone with Gates 56 has a mind that translates our collective human experience into something that can be communicated, always told from that person's perspective and not meant to be taken as literal fact. The magic here is in weaving a colorful tale, bringing in lots of details, taking the listener on this journey that makes them both feel something and learn, maybe even form a new belief from that experience. So oftentimes this one can feel like, oh, I've got to have all the facts, and all of that. It's like, no, this is totally not about that. It's totally not about it being a textbook, right? It is really just about captivating people's attention and being this very creative and interesting and also informative storyteller. And the gate that completes the channel is also a bridge gate. It is either Aries or Taurus, gate 3, which forms the channel of mutation. So gate 3 is known as difficulty at the beginning. It's the gate of ordering. And this one brings order to the mutative pulse frequency. It's about bringing new things into the world, going from nothing to something, and basically how that gets off to a bumpy, chaotic start. But through perseverance, having the ability to usher in positive change and evolution. The low expression of this one, just like it's electromagnetic, we've been talking about gate 60. So just like gate 60, it can be prone to melancholy while waiting for the next new thing to arrive. It can be generator keyword frustrated at limitation, at the old way of doing things, and overly eager for change for the sake of change, which can feel very destabilizing to the people around you. It can also show up as wanting to be overly controlling or being fearful that life is total chaos and nothing makes any sense. But the high expression is it's newness, it's innovation through play, it's lightness, and the recognition that control is an illusion. Change is the only constant. Learning to get comfortable with that, with that fact that we're constantly evolving, but it can't be forced. We are not the same person we were even just a moment ago. Everything is forever in flux, mutating, rearranging, reorganizing, all of it. We don't necessarily see the work of the universe going on behind the scenes, but we can choose to trust that we are held. The phrase divine timing exists for a reason. With the energy of this gate is It's basically patience as a virtue. This is the gate of the new. Think of having a brand new baby. Life is chaotic until you get life organized and you fall into that new rhythm, that new way of being, new way of life. And again, there's that need of patience here. I was already stressing that, to realize that the organization of chaos is a process. It's generated so slow and steady. It happens over time. And this one, Richard Rudd talks about in the Gene Keys. It's trusting in and embracing the chaos, relinquishing control, and allowing for that magical mutation to take place. So again, this is a format channel. They are very, very powerful. 60 is the powerful adrenalized pressure of the root coming up to connect with the huge sustainable power in gate 3 in the sacral. And it's to be used in response and really create mutation, change, evolution in the world. Again, this is two major motors coming together to act like an absolute powerhouse, and it makes noise. It likes to make noise. As long as these people are responding, they can trust they are acting correctly. When the two come together to form the channel of mutation, it's about being a literal innovative force for change in the world. It's almost like this infinite loop of being the seed and then the flower blooming. It's the chaos and the darkness, feeling lost in the void, only to then find the light, the order. Things once again make sense until they don't. And that's individual circuitry for you, right? It's unpredictable. It pulses on and off. You're not in control of it. I have a friend with this specific channel, and I can see it so clearly in them. This is their pattern. Like I said, is with all individual circuitry, it's highly creative, but also prone to melancholy. And they can slip into that place where they do become depressive episodes if you're not aware and watching for it. Another cool uh, public figure, celebrity, queen of the world that has this channel is Dolly Parton. It's her one and only channel in her entire chart. She's a little sacral generator. And just, she just keeps trucking, keeps pushing on. It was a really good example of this energy, right? And being so creative. So astrologically, this channel would either be Aries and or Taurus connecting with Capricorn and or Aquarius. So there's potential for challenging squares, helpful sextiles, flowing trines between the various potential combinations here. And this is all happening in the fourth quarter of the wheel, purpose fulfilled through transformation. Again, this one seems pretty self-explanatory. It's, a little caterpillar waiting to transform into a butterfly when the time is right, a little seed waiting to bloom into a beautiful flower. But the timing, the conditions, all of that just have to be right. And that's nature's job, So do you have this gate in your chart? We're going to look down to the root, the bottom box. The middle top of that is 60. If it's colored in black, red, or red and black, means you have it defined. Maybe you don't. Look to the other side. Do you have the 3? If it's colored in, then you would be getting this full channel for approximately a week. Maybe you're like me. I've got no part of it. So I'm always just observing and seeing how it plays out in real life through people that I know. It's fascinating. It's just fascinating to watch these things. Yeah. So always feel free to go check out over on Instagram where I share my tips, my tricks, or the energetic prescription for how to utilize this energy in your life during these 6 days while the sun is transiting this sign. Have a look at Michaela McLean if you're not following me over there already. All right. I will be back soon with more. Of course, if this episode was of value to you, I would love it if you would leave it a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcast or hitting the 5 stars wherever you listen. It helps so incredibly much. You have no idea. And I always say this is a labor of love for me. So I would just appreciate getting a little love back from that. If you want to learn more human design, of course, check out my links in the show notes, bio over on Instagram for the free guide, the $11 classes, all the good stuff, the yoga nidras, and new things always coming. And of course, until next time, have a beautiful day.